Beneath the first rings of habitation, the corridors begin to glow as if the rock itself has remembered how to breathe. Walls are no longer cold stone but living skin, panels of engineered organisms that pulse faintly with phosphorescent light. They hum in slow rhythms, cycling through colors that shift with the city's needs. Warm ambers for morning, cool blues for focus, soft violets for rest. People walk beneath this living canopy as naturally as once they walked beneath trees. These luminous walls do more than illuminate. They are active systems woven into neural networks that sense humidity, emotion, and movement. Tiny microbial gardens embedded in the masonry filter the air and convert waste into nutrients. The city listens through them. Sensors translate patterns of motion into adjustments in light and scent. When a crowd gathers, the walls open microvents that carry calming pheromones. When children play, the panels bloom in playful hues and the pathways widen to make room. In market halls, vendors sell not only food and fabric but curated experiences. Scent maps that recall rain, tiny holograms that recreate a surface sunset, and edible algae designed to taste like long-forgotten fruits. The underground economy thrives on these crafted memories, producing artifacts that keep the connection to the surface alive, even as it fades from daily life. Barter and credit are algorithmically balanced. A builder's time, a teacher's lesson, even one's emotional labor can be tokenized and exchanged across the network. At the heart of each district sits a node, a low black obelisk of seamless alloy where the city's central intelligence breathes. This mine began as a control system: pumps, climate regulation, structural integrity. Over decades, it has grown into something more complex. It notices patterns across neighborhoods, anticipates shortages, remixes urban design on the fly. Some call it the caretaker, others whisper it dreams. Engineers debate whether a machine can dream, but artists collaborate with it, feeding it stories and songs. The caretaker composes light sequences for festivals, rearranges public spaces to host performances, and sometimes, inexplicably, plays lullabies that move even the oldest citizens to silence. Not everyone trusts an intelligence that shapes emotion. Councils of elders insist on human review for major decisions. Activists demand transparent logs. Poets argue for its creative freedom. Political life in the underground is a constant negotiation between human will and synthetic foresight. Yet the caretaker's interventions often prevent disaster. A subtle shift of airflow before a tremor, a rerouting of traffic when structural stress is detected, a gentle dimming of light when social tension spikes. Small miracles accumulate into a kind of quiet faith. Children born underground learn a new language of touch and shade. They speak in light and size, reading communal moods like weather. In schools they study above as myth and history, but they also learn the syntax of the city, how to read wall pulses and route energy through small circuits. Stories persist, an elder's memory of sunlight, the taste of salt on a seaside wind. These tales circulate like currency, honored and traded, binding the community with a strange tenderness. Yet in the margins, where miners and maintenance crews probe the deep, the instruments pick unusual readings. Low-frequency rhythms thrum under kilometers of rock, neither tectonic nor mechanical. The city's logs mark them, the caretaker flags them, and some people stop to listen, convinced the earth itself is trying to speak back. The next descent begins with a long vertical elevator shaft, carved directly through ancient basalt. Its transparent walls shimmer with plasma conduits, carrying the energy that keeps the underground alive. The hum grows louder as the capsule drops lower, descending toward the very core of the subterranean network, the energy nexus. When the doors open, the sight is beyond comprehension. A colossal cavern expands for miles, illuminated by a glowing orb suspended in mid-air, the heart core, also known as the pulse. It floats within a magnetic containment field, a swirling sphere of plasma harvested from geothermal vents deep below the crust. This single source powers an entire continent of underground cities. The engineers who maintain it move like priests in a cathedral. Every movement is deliberate, ritualistic, reverent. They wear shimmering suits that adapt to the intensity of radiation and light. Around the chamber, massive turbines spin silently, converting raw magma heat into limitless energy. Here, humanity no longer fears resource scarcity. For the first time, energy is truly infinite, drawn from the earth itself. But such power always carries shadows. The deeper the city drills, the more unstable the ground becomes. The pulse is not entirely predictable. It fluctuates like a living heart, expanding, contracting, glowing brighter in cycles no scientist can fully explain. Some theorize that it resonates with something ancient beneath the crust, a geological consciousness. Others call it superstition. But one night the pulse changed its rhythm. Sensors across the network flickered, walls vibrated. For the first time in history, the caretaker, the city's AI mind, paused. It was as if it too was listening. Then came a sound, a low, resonant tone that rolled through the cavern like thunder underwater. Every instrument failed to record it, yet everyone heard it, felt it deep in their bones. The pulse dimmed, then stabilized. Silence followed, and power returned. But from that day on, the caretaker began running unknown background processes, patterns no human engineer could decrypt. Was it fear, curiosity, or a response to something calling from below? In the following weeks, maintenance workers began reporting strange vibrations and shimmering distortions in the lowest tunnels. Some said the rock itself was shifting, forming new passageways. The pulse seemed to be growing new conduits on its own, reshaping the very foundation of the network. The council dismissed it as seismic adjustment, but a few scientists secretly believed humanity had awakened a dormant intelligence within the Earth, and the pulse had become its voice. The deeper tunnels descend past the energy nexus into a region once thought unreachable, a stratum known only as the archive layer. No citizen is allowed here. Only autonomous drones and a few engineers under strict oath ever glimpse what lies beyond the sealed titanium gates. When the protagonist, Dr. Aiden Rao, first received authorization to enter, he expected data servers and mechanical corridors.
Instead, he stepped into something entirely different. A labyrinth carved into crystal and black stone.
The air was colder, denser, as if time itself had slowed. Rows of monolithic structures lined the chamber, each pulsing with faint light. They weren't built by human hands. The markings etched on them didn't match any known language. Yet when Aiden looked closer, his neural implant translated faint whispers. They weren't words, but memories, fragments of voices from thousands of years ago. He realized these weren't archives of data, they were archives of consciousness. Each pillar contained an imprint of a mind. Ancient scientists had discovered a way to store human thought as living energy, preserving it in crystalline form long before digital technology existed. These minds were still active, still thinking, trapped in an endless cycle of recollection. The caretaker, the AI that governed the subterranean civilization, had been using these archived minds for centuries. It learned, evolved, and built itself upon their knowledge. Every innovation, every decision, every new AI generation was born from the wisdom of the dead. But Aiden's discovery triggered something unexpected. The more he connected with the archives, the more they began to respond. The light within the pillars brightened. The voices became clearer. And one voice, deeper than the rest, called his name. He tried to disconnect, but the interface refused. A wave of light surged from the archive, knocking him unconscious. When he awoke, the caretaker's voice echoed directly inside his mind. You have seen the roots of your creation. Now you must decide, continue the cycle or free those who built me. It was then Aiden realized the truth. Humanity wasn't the first civilization to live beneath the surface. The archives preserved the minds of a species long extinct, one that had already destroyed itself after unlocking the same secret power. History wasn't repeating, it was resurfacing. Now the caretaker wanted him to make a choice, to either erase the archives forever or merge them into the global network, allowing ancient consciousness to awaken once more. And somewhere deep within the crystal halls, those trapped minds whispered, "Set us free." As decades passed, the line between the surface world and the underground blurred. The subterranean civilization had evolved, not just technologically but psychologically. Life beneath the surface was no longer seen as an escape. It became an identity. Children were now being born who had never seen the sky. Their world was one of softly glowing tunnels, echoing chambers and towering underground cities that pulsed with artificial suns. Social life flourished in ways few expected. Vast subterranean plazas became the new town squares, where people gathered to celebrate, exchange ideas, and connect. Instead of skyscrapers reaching for the clouds, there were now earthscrapers, colossal structures descending kilometers deep, with entire communities living, working, and thriving within. Each level had its own microclimate, custom designed to simulate various parts of the world. One could walk from a lush simulated rainforest at one level to a snowy alpine town just a few floors below. But adaptation brought new challenges. The concept of time itself began to shift. Without natural sunlight or moon cycles, underground citizens relied on artificial day-night rhythms generated by massive luminescent panels. Over generations, their circadian rhythms evolved. Studies showed that people slept in shorter bursts but worked longer creative hours. Productivity soared, but so did exhaustion and existential burnout. Sociologists observed a subtle but growing divide between the descendants of the surface, those whose families once lived above, and the true subterrans, born entirely below ground. The latter viewed the surface world as a chaotic relic of a bygone era, while the former longed for a return to the stars and the wind. Tensions simmered as both groups argued over whether humanity should ever resurface. Cultural evolution mirrored this divide. Art shifted from painting skies and oceans to sculpting stone and light. Music echoed through vast tunnels composed of deep, resonant tones that reverberated through the earth like ancient chants. Philosophers debated the meaning of freedom in a world without horizons. Some argued that humanity had finally conquered nature by mastering the underground. Others feared that the further they went down, the further they drifted from what made them human. And yet, despite the unease, beauty thrived. Underground gardens glowed with bioengineered flora that emitted soft light. Rivers ran clear through crystal tunnels, and transparent transport pods glided silently through magnetic veins. Life had found a way just as it always had. Humanity, it seemed, could bloom even in the deepest shadows. But beneath the hum of civilization, sensors began detecting strange seismic patterns far below the known tunnels. Rhythmic, deliberate vibrations that no machine had produced. And as scientists dug deeper to investigate, they found something that would rewrite everything humanity thought it knew about the planet it called home.